Welcome to Season 5 of the Sisters of Sexuality 5 Shades of Play podcast. Question: are you a subscriber of our show? If not, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and on our YouTube channel. Today's episode is sponsored by Liberated Sex-Filled Shapes. Are you ready to add passion to your moments? Introducing the Decor Heart Wedge by Liberator. Comfort and style all in one. This contoured accessory enhances penetration and G-spot positioning. And guess what? It's not just functional, it's a fashion statement. The compact wedge doubles as a decorative pillow, blending passion with style. Imagine ultra-soft, velvet material in designer colors matching all of your bedding. It's like art for your bed, setting a romantic mood. Spice up your bedroom with the Decor Heart Wedge because why settle for the ordinary? Elevate your experiences, turning your bed into a haven of passion and comfort. Visit liberated.com now for the perfect union of pleasure and design with the Decor Heart Wedge. Your heart will thank you. Plus, check out all of the amazing bedroom adventure furniture at liberated.com. Now, let's continue on to our show. Hello, sexies. You are listening to Sisters of Sexuality 5 Shades of Play. And I am Taylor Sparks, your host and sex goddess for the evening. We are here for the purposes of educating, entertaining, and informing you in all areas of sexuality, sexual health, kink, relationships, and the business of sex. Today, I am most excited, as I am every week, to bring you a new guest. But before I bring her on, let me tell you a little bit about her. Kasha V Johnson is the Director of Training and Development at Bedroom Kandi, a board-certified clinical sexuality coach with more than a decade in the industry, who prides herself as a bold influencer, creating sex-positive environments. She found her dream work in bringing positive impact to the lives of others when her first child was diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder. She learned quickly the taboos of being both a sexual person and a mother, and was motivated not to lose her orgasms to the stress of becoming a special needs mom. Through this journey, she married her own personal experiences, knowledge, and certification into her unique coaching approach. Kasha is a survivor of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and is passionate about helping individuals navigate the pretty and unpretty sides of sexuality. As a director of training and development at Bedroom Kandi, she edutains sex educators nationwide to empower others to learn about their sexuality while incorporating the use of adult products and other pleasure and wellness products in the BK collection through exciting parties and experiences full of fun and leaving with quality offers. Kasha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful for the invitation, to be honest.
Oh, no, I'm excited to have you here because, a lot of us know about the Kandi Bread line and that you are the director of sales and training of edutainment. So of course I got to start, at the beginning and figure out, how sex, why sex, how did you even before you got to her, what even led you down this path to, sex education?
So it's such an interesting story because it has nothing to do with sex at all. That's the first thing. And I'll tell you this, even it was always something I was very comfortable with. I will never forget being like 8 and 9 years old, sneaking and watching Robin Bird. I don't know if people remember Robin Bird, but she used to have a variety show that used to come on one of those off cable channels, like the one that you didn't have to pay for. But if you tune in at 3 a.m, you might catch something interesting on. So I remember.
No, I didn't see that.
I so remember coming across this show one time and I was just like, what in the hell is going on? But I'll tell you the truth. The only thing that was off-putting for me at the time is that, wasn't people of color, and it was just intriguing to me. And so I would sneak and watch it. And I had my first little brush in life with with what it felt like young to experience arousal, and then a lot of confusion around it. So I definitely from very young would explore my pleasure kind of secretly, very close, very private, wasn't something I could really discuss with anybody either. I didn't feel like. So I remember those feelings. But what really turned the dial, because before this, I did years and years and years, about 11 years total of political consulting and lobbying. And so switching gears into this industry was like a complete, complete shift. But
like the whole other side of the world.
Yeah, I always tell people I used to clean up the scandal. Now I might be responsible for one or two, but the truth is, what happened was my eldest son had gotten his autism diagnosis, right? So this is now going on 11 years now ago. And I realized that at that time, he had some significant needs that my present at that time career path wasn't going to meet. Like, I made great money in politics. Don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of high stress, right? A lot of big ass egos, and also long days. So I would leave and he'd be asleep. I'd come home and he'd be asleep. And with this changing of the news for him, I knew that that diagnosis wasn't just his, right? So it was going to be a different life for me as well. And I started to kind of think to myself, what can I do? What kind of thing can I venture into that might allow me that freedom of schedule, that gives me the availability to my child, but also the lights got to stay on, right? So it's also needed to be something that might be lucrative. So I was like, look, as much as I love shaking his ass, I wasn't ready to climb no pole, right? And, shout out to my girls, who were doing it, because I was like, I'm in love with the arts, and dancing is such a deep close place for me. But I knew it wasn't something that I could commit to, like, in that way. So I started to get curious. How can I go about tapping into the sex sales industry? Because a lot of people deny, Taylor, that this is the oldest profession, first of all.
For sure.
I mean, the brothels and them coins been going in bras since a long time ago. But so I wanted to tap into that sustainability, but I wanted to figure out how. And so ironically, with the stresses of like the adjustments that were happening in my life with my child at the time, I was also raising my younger brother, and very young doing so, because my mom unfortunately has a mental disorder and was suffering from some substance challenges at the time. So it's a very confusing period of life for me. And I'll tell you this, right? So I had a toy party because I wanted to have an opportunity to have a good time or whatever the case, let my hair down, and quite frankly, release some stress, right? So that was what opened my eyes to it, because as the person who was presenting was doing it, I just kept thinking to myself, I could do this shit. Like, like, yeah,
I can do this.
I can do this. This we can do. First of all, I already had people always asking me for the sex advice. I just had to figure out how to get them to pay for it, right?
Right, yeah, girl. Don't I overstand this one.
That one right there. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll try this. It was a minimal investment, right? Kind of going into another career. So I felt like, hey, if it goes great, then awesome. If it doesn't, then I got all these toys and stuff in the kit that I'm.
So did you start? Sorry to interrupt. Did you start with Bedroom Kandi?
No, I did not.
Okay.
So it was passion parties, which no longer.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, it was passion parties then, and so that's when I kind of went into it. And I could do a toy party or two on a Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday through Thursday be fully hands-on with my child. I didn't have to work other days of the week. So, and it was lucrative. You could do a toy party, and let's just say you do a night that makes you $1,200 to $1,500 in sale, and your compensation of that is 40 something, 45, 50%. I mean, I was at least making $1,100 in my pocket.
For sure.
Right, in a week. So if it was definitely something that sustained us at that time when cost of living wasn't what it was today, right?
For sure.
And the thing that happened to me, Taylor, is passion parties went under. They were purchased by Pure Romance, and all of us ended up getting swung under Pure Romance's umbrella.
Right.
And I did for a little while, but I didn't really feel. It was just a money thing. I didn't feel the connection that I started to develop for it. So at this time, Bedroom Kandi had a couple of years under their belt, and I had to keep my eye on it, because I was like, all right, Black owned, I love how they're feeling, you know, but I need to see if they're going to be here in 2-3 years. Right.
Right.
But when so I decided to shift gears and take my time, bow out of that company long enough to jump over and join Bedroom Kandi. And it was a very different experience. Not what people take for granted is the community. So because within Bedroom Kandi, it's almost like a little, like we need to just get some Greek letters or something and put them on a shirt, because it's very much so that energy, because I'm in a company where 97%, 97 and maybe 98% of the people in this business look like me. Right?
And isn't it nice to be able to be around your own, not only in any business, I don't care if you're selling cars or insurance or you're working in media, but it's nice to be around your own and not have to code switch in the middle of a conversation.
I tell people this all the time. While I am for everybody, I'm also not for everybody, right? Like not everybody's going to connect with everyone. And so I don't close my doors to a soul. I don't care what ethnicity, what gender, anything, you know, how you identify, sexuality, identification, any of that. But at the end of the day, I do think when you're stepping into business and this realm, it is different. It's different for people of color. And I think we have, you know, some cultural things that impact that. We have, we grew up a certain way, that's one thing, but also the stigma that already is placed on Black women's bodies and things of that nature. So our expression is always viewed a little differently within our community. So you're entering a very taboo area. And for me, in order for me to make successful impact in that, right, I needed to be surrounded with others who also understood that, right? And I think that was what the shift was. And even though I had at this point had already 5.5 years in the business of pleasure, when I got to BK, I'll tell you something significant happened to me at a party. I went to go do a party. Group of ladies, they were like a social workers, and she was having just a ladies' night, you know what I mean? And I just gave an intro and I was like, whether you are here because you already know you like swinging off the ceiling and doing all that other stuff, I'm here for you. If you're trying to figure out what your juice, your special sauce is, I'm here for you. Like I was just kind of giving, you know, if you kind of like shy about sex, I'm here for you. So I just kept saying all of those things. And we had a great time. I got to the end of the night. I had a young lady come into my order room. And as soon as I closed the door, broke down in tears. Right? And it was like, I was very off put by the reaction because I didn't understand what was provoking that for her. And this woman was a trauma social worker nonetheless, right? Who hadn't healed her own trauma. And she confessed to me that she had came there to support her friend, have fun, and she was definitely some lotions. She's like, I know it's gonna buy me some lotions or something. But she cried. She said, I think I want a sex toy. I think I want a sex toy. And I was like, I said, well, baby, we can help you with that. But I was like trying to understand for like what was the emotion behind it. And she had been sexually assaulted and had completely abstained from any type of sexual stimulus. She just didn't have good feelings about it because of it. So I told her, here's the thing, that's the truth. I knew I wasn't qualified to deal with the trauma of what she had just shared with me that time. So there is a responsibility, even if you know you're doing this, they're looking at you, you're a sex educator, you are educating on sex in this realm, but there's another layer when we start tapping.
Therapy is different than counseling is different. It's totally
very different, right? So at that time, I said I knew I wasn't qualified, but I knew I wanted to be. Right. At that was the day I decided, like, I the next woman who has this conversation with me, I need to be able to help a little bit deeper. So I referred her to a friend of mine who was an actual medical doctor and psychiatrist. And I said, but I can help you with exploring different stimulations and figuring out what types of toys that you might be able to use to kind of start, you know, your journey in it. So that was really kind of like what led me down this path. I went to become a clinical sexologist, and all the things that happened after just started there.
I mean, that is a wonderful story and an amazing story, and how people can touch us in ways that catapult us in directions we had no idea we wanted to go. And then you're like, just like you saw the woman doing the first presentation, you're like, I can do this.
Oh, yes.
And you feel something inside. It's like, I want to help her, and I know I don't have the tools to help her, so I'm not going to just say anything. But
Yeah.
I think I want the tools.
Yeah,
I
and
think
you
I
know,
want
there's
to
a
go get the tools.
responsibility that a
Yeah,
lot of people don't acknowledge, that you can deepen a person's trauma if you're stepping into stuff that you shouldn't. But and sometimes people feel this need to have the answer, right? And I say this to anybody who's ever looked at this industry or any industry where, you know, those types of things come into play. Like, it's great to want to be the person, but you also have to be honest about where you are
exactly,
at a given
exactly.
time.
Oh my gosh. And so I, as a sex educator, I call myself a writer, educator, and sex goddess. You know, my background is in human behavior, and I'm certified human behavior and holistic aromatherapy. So if you come to me and tell me, you know, if a guy comes to me and is like, you know, my dick's not working, we can talk about food and products and your health and your weight. But if you take, you know, and I can suggest some things to help you that are natural, but if you tell me your dick's not working because your father molested you, I have to now pass you on to my friends who do
Yes.
trauma.
Yes.
I stay in my lane when it comes to that. I'm not saying people have to stay in a particular lane, but as you mentioned, you could deepen somebody's trauma by,
But the
you know, and
wrong thing.
the
Yeah.
wrong thing. So I don't do therapy. I don't do counseling. I do, you know, because therapy and counseling is really about uncovering and helping people to uncover and recover from things, right? I coach, you know, and coaching is about helping people to discover, you
Yes,
know,
it's
discover
more of
what
a
you
guided
want.
path. Like,
It's a
it's something
guided
that's
path.
already within you that I'm
Yes.
helping you surface. And the funny thing about that is, like, with my board certification in clinical sexology, there's a layer I can go a little deeper. I'm actually in the process of like going deeper into it.
Nice.
Psychotically, I'm still thinking about how we're gonna still. I hate school, but I'm going to go and get this.
Me too. That's why I'm not.
It's an
That's why I'm
oxymoron.
not going for my clinical therapist
Yes.
license, because I'm like, not only do I not, I love to learn. I don't like the traditional learning path. So I need small chunks. The certifications work for me. And I have no desire to do therapy. So.
And it's so funny because I'll tell you this. I love to learn, but I don't. I'm a hands-on learner. So sometimes
Yeah.
I think with the some of those learning environments, that if you don't have the right person teaching, it could
Yeah.
completely shift your experience. But
Yes.
and truth be told, a lot of the stuff you could self-teach nowadays. But that accredited, you know, getting those credits and making sure that you got that stamp of approval on what you're doing, it's so important. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna go and do the psychology thing. And I guess what works on that is having a special needs child. There are gonna be tools that I gain in there that will still also benefit me as a mom. So that's what I'm taking myself to say, like, okay,
For sure. For
not just a
sure.
career thing, but yes, it's one of those things that um it's one of those things that sometimes you don't know that you're gonna end up doing, but you I would say this, I took my purpose and I made it my passion, and my passion became my paycheck. But
Yes. I love that.
that's what I always like. That's how I look at it. The monetary thing um is that, like, I was already doing something that was making me great money. So the money is not all it is. And people sometimes look at those things as in the industry, like, oh, women are or men are entering this industry because of money, money, money. And they think that it's like chasing this financial demon, right? When and it's sometimes, like, you know, the negative associations with women in the industry, that how lucrative it could be to be an erotic content creator or any of those types of things. And I'm like, does anybody, you have to consider for a moment that maybe this is something they just really enjoyed, they were passionate about, and y'all are the ones who made the price tag what it is, right?
Right. That it's not on us. They always want to put things on us, you know. And actually, I'm gonna take a break here because I want to talk to you and introduce you to Union Vegan Condoms, our sponsor for our show today. They're game changers in the world of pleasure and protection. I always say yes, they're vegan, and no, it's not a lettuce wrap. You cannot eat them, right? But experience the ultimate connection with their precision fit condoms, meticulously designed to let you feel it all. Say goodbye to animal byproducts and unpleasant odors, because at Union, they keep it clean and simple with their formulas. Union condoms are more than just protection. They're your ticket to safe and comfortable intimacy for all of your body parts. So why wait? Elevate your pleasure with Union Condoms today and visit unioncondoms.com and redefine your intimacy game. When you visit them, you will receive 20% off of your first order with coupon code Organic Love. So that's unioncondoms.com, because love should be clean, simple, and sensational. And rediscover your joy with that connection. So always practice safe and consensual intimacy. And thank you to our sponsors, Union Condoms.
I love that. I actually love that. I'm gonna have to check them out. Everything. When some of us say our hoo-ha is sensitive, I'm like, all of our hoo-has are sensitive. But
all of our hoo-has are sensitive. People have, no idea the amount of chemicals that are in so many products, and that's one of the things that I, on my Organic Loven site, everything that we have on there is chemical free. So, and I curate. We have over 1,300 products. I curate everything that goes on the site. So, but tell me, so you move over to the Bedroom Kandi, right? And you get in there. So tell me how this path got to you being, the training director.
Side.
Yeah. The director of training and development. How, so you move over, you start your sales. Do you bring your team with you from Pure Romance?
Well, when I did, I had a small team. Actually, truth be told, I didn't really grow a team too heavily until I got to Bedroom Kandi. I had like 4 people, and really just because they came to me, and I'm like, sure, I'll bring you in. And like I said, at previous companies, it was mostly an opportunity to take something that I enjoyed, that I like to talk about, and monetize it. At Bedroom Kandi, it became a different thing because I was discovering purpose, right? I'll tell you this, after like 2 or 3 months within BK of consistent like great performance, I guess, I was invited to be a speaker at the annual convention and teach like a class. And I was like, I just got here. What do you want me to do? So here I am getting this email. I'm like, oh, if this looked like it could be a mistake, but y'all ain't getting it back.
I'm showing up.
I'm showing up.
If you might have meant to send it to somebody else, but I'm showing up because they didn't get the letter.
Invitation accepted. So I was going to figure out, and it was funny because I never went to any of the conventions for any of the other companies. And that was just because I didn't feel like it was going to be the crowd I wanted to be in. And I'm an authentic person. And so I like to show up authentically no matter what. So I got that invitation, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to speak on. So I actually called somebody who was an upline leader of mine. And I just met this woman. I didn't really know her too well, but I was like, hey, I got this invitation. I'm trying to, figure it out. And she sat on the phone with me for nearly 2 hours as we were like narrowing in on what this topic looked like.
Oh, wow.
While I was, yelling at my kid to stop doing something and doing all, like, she sat there and she stuck it through with me. And you know what? It was the selfishness in that interaction that kind of opened me up to team leadership more at that time, because I was like, wow, she just gave to me so, graciously her time. And it almost felt selfish not to like replicate that. Right. So that's what my interest in team leadership grew, but I was still heavily just, out there doing what I need to do to get familiar with it. And my first order of business is to know the products like I made them myself. And that's so right. BK, I will say that's phenomenal quality that I know I can stand 10 toes down in the mud, in the sand on. And so at that time, I went to our annual convention, and I left completely inspired, because this had been the first time that I've been to an award ceremony again, where me as a woman of color, I'm watching all these Black women, Black men, because we don't segregate, we don't anybody cross the stage, accept the awards, accept the trophies, and it was so inspiring. So I said to myself that weekend at our convention, and also just being this new person with a room full of people, I'm like, y'all want to hear from me? And they're like, oh, we love your videos. And I was like, oh, I didn't think I was doing shit. Right? So, all right, cool. We're going to get up here, set that camera up so my mama can watch this later.
Right? Oh my God, how exciting. So wait. I want to back up one quick sec. So when you, Pure Romance, Passion Parties, I remember Passion Parties and Pure Romance. So was Passion Parties the first multi-level you were ever in?
Actually, I did simultaneously them, and at the time TLC Total Life Changes was started. So I did Total Life Changes also simultaneously while I was doing that. Yeah, and I was doing it because that at that time that ISOT was everything everybody talking about, and then they came out with these resolution drops that everybody was kind of hooked on. And to me, it was all in a wellness category that made sense.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I did both of those at the time. But what I'll tell you, and to kind of like answer your question, what happened is that my first year at Bedroom Kandi, I became the nationwide top seller, right?
Yes.
And it was a huge thing for me that I was like, oh, okay, I'm apparently I'm doing a thing, and my customers like me too, right? But I came out of that convention and I was like, I'm going to grow a team. I'm going to do this. And within the next month, I had recruited like 6 or 7 people. And that was consistent. It just consistently grew. I left my first convention with 2 or 3 people. By my next convention, I had at least 60 people in my downline.
Oh
And
my God.
it just
How
continued.
amazing.
It,
People, I'm sorry to cut you off again.
no,
People
you're
don't
fine.
realize the level of education that you receive in multi-level marketing. So I've done a few different
Oh,
ones.
I'm so happy you said.
Amway being one of the old dogs on the road, and I'm seasoned. But we were at Amway for 7 or 8 years. We did well in Amway, and then we moved and then we kind of lost touch with our upline, so we kind of left it. But because we moved down south, and no one in our line were there in North Carolina, and the closest thing was way down in Charlotte, like 3 hours away.
And
So
that's
it
everything. I feel like in North Carolina, if you're not in that area, you're in some outskirts.
Yeah, and you don't have the connections like, we're talking 25, 28, 30 years ago.
So not the same ability to communicate and how
Not the same abilities,
yes.
not cell phone, you don't have any of that, you can't, there was no, Zoom, or, there was no way to stay connected. So it was really, really difficult. And, but I had been in Amway, and I had been a couple of other ones, in the education and level of support. And I think a lot of multi-levels get a bad rap.
A bad rep for it. Yeah.
A bad rep for it. And always calling something a pyramid. Like, it's not a fucking
no,
pyramid.
there's so much
just like corporate America. Corporate America is a pyramid. You got a president, you got a vice president, senior man, that's a pyramid. But what would you say, because you were talking about how, you grew to 60 people, and you became a nationwide seller. What kind of, switching kind of to the business side of Bedroom Kandi, what type of support or what type of education is provided for, senior levels on down, or newbies coming in, what kind of support do they get?
So so you're so spot on, because to me, at first I came into it thinking it was just about the sales. Actually, the business is the number one, is really the first product, right? And the reason I say that is because you're, like we said, minimal investment. So that's the first thing. Most people, to go into any business is an extreme overhead, and people don't think about that, right? Especially back before a pandemic, where going into business meant damn near brick and mortar, right?
Yeah.
So the self-development in its own makes up for the value. Right. So we have access to a lot of different experts in our community, and we're always adding new. So when I actually got my clinical certification, I don't know if you remember Dr. Rachel, who was on the show The Doctors at the time. They had a show.
Yes.
So Dr. Rachel was one of the people in our community of experts who founded the Dr. Rachel Institute and got it certified by the American Sexuality.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yes. So actually, when I got introduced to the course that I took to get my clinical certification, it was through Bedroom Kandi that I got that connection to Dr. Rachel. She came as our convention speaker. There are a few other doctors that that I truly like love that came on. Dr. Tamara Rose, and she's a really holistic, sacral soul kind of practice. Doctor, and then we had medical doctors who were like ER doctors. She's like, let me tell you about the sex injuries that enrolled through here. It was just such a dynamic panel. But then the people who are developing our loops, the product developers, we have a lot of Black-owned product developers who make products for our brand. So those people come there, especially at our training events, our annual events, they're training, but also every single week we are having training calls. We have a regular fireside chat. And our company former president, Nadine Thompson, she also was very instrumental in the development of our Bath and Body collection. She has
sounds familiar.
All Purpose is another She has a business called Serve Purpose, and she makes a lot of CBD and those types of products, Bath Body.
Okay.
But she curated so much of that. And so when you come to our skincare products, you'll find that they're great for everybody's skin, but they're made for the skin that we live in that has so many different variations. So
Yes.
all of this, it was access to all of these great people, right? Who are coming, who are teaching, who are educating, who are teaching sex ed 101, who's helping you understand things about anatomy from a different way that you may have learned it prior. And then the same with the product development. Our co-founder, Suki Dunham, who designs our toys and things like that. So always teaching, always teaching. And then we have master trainers and success coaches. So there's also that heavy inspirational, motivational side that you do ongoingly in business to help you show up on the days that you don't feel like it with the same energy that you show up on the days that you do. So that's there in that like institutional support. But then you said upline leaders, right? So you've got people who have been doing it and who have been figuring it out, and then they're giving on to those that come in, right? So that's why I said earlier, like it's almost like we should get our Greek letters, because it's this bigger organization support community. So at the time, I such a powerhouse upline, such a powerhouse group of leaders above me. And it was so funny because I learned so much of the leadership element there, but then how to take that leadership piece and make it your own, because the truth of the matter is you have to first go within, right? In order to put out. And what I learned is that my ambition to help the next person was constantly growing my own knowledge, because in order for me to teach it, I had to go learn.
You had to know it. Yeah.
So it changed my mentality. So many people look at that leadership side of things and they think, oh, it's going to be this and that. And I'm like, no, I would learn something and I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to tell my team, like, so that excitement was so crazy. And that's what led to where I am now, because I enjoyed the parties and the sales. I'm from New York. I could sell you the socks off your shoe. You like themselves. I'd be like, girl, them socks look good. You need 12 more pairs. We should, So I I didn't that was never my motivation, because the natural hustle is within me. I could do most things, a lot of people have a lot of skill sets that you can do well, but you might not love doing, right?
For sure.
So I started to fall in love with the teaching part, right? And that it connected back to that same girl in that party room who sparked this thing to kind of like, I want to be able to help you. So helping my customers, helping my team members grew the educator in me deeper. And that's when I was like, okay, I love doing the parties, but don't get me wrong. I got to the point 10 years in, right? I done lugged enough toys to a table.
Okay.
I done lugged enough toys to a table. I done set up enough tables. I done did enough of it. Now we got to figure out how we're going to keep doing what we love, but we're going to have to do it a little differently. So when BK put out that they were looking for someone for that, I was like, I think this is the answer, right? Because I get to continue to do what I love to do in a way that, I'm a part of the intricate growing of the entire. Now I was educating my team. Now I'm educating consultants and sex educators nationwide. And that's the shift. You know what I mean? So that's how I ended up joining the corporate team.
Well, congratulations. Now, how long have you been on the corporate side?
A year and a half now.
Well, congratulations still.
Thank you. So yeah, it's newer over there. But I just love those full circles, even the skills that I learned in politics, the things that I did then still transfer over to what I'm doing, because in politics, what are you doing? Mobilizing people towards the cause, right? What I'm doing as an educator, mobilizing people towards the same cause, the education
and the communication piece. The thing about politics, it does kind of teach you, when to hold them, when to fold them.
Right. You gotta know when to hold.
Yes, exactly. And you gotta know when to just, you learn to take a breath. I did corporate training for 10 years before I got into the sex industry, and I did communications. I trained negotiations. Girl,
you would not realize how much of that stuff you end up having to do on this side.
I have to do it all on this side, and working with customers and travel. It's just, but it's good. It's wonderful to be able to do what you love, and you know how our path, and not to be afraid of like, ooh, sex toys. What my mama gonna say if I start selling sex toys? What did your mama say?
Yes.
Did your mama say
Oh,
anything?
my mother's crazier than me, so
No.
that wasn't a worry over here. I never forget the first time I told my mom I lost my virginity. I was a teen when I did, and
Okay.
her first response to me was, "Did he lick it before he stuck it?" And so that's who was in my house. So no, she didn't. I don't think anybody was surprised. But you know what you just said that was so key, Taylor, that I love to like bring to service, that communication piece. It's really just about having effective language. I can say I sell sex toys, or I can say I'm a sex educator, right?
Sure.
Who offers adult novelty products that can help grow your own education of self, right?
Yeah.
So how you choose those words are going to determine how it's received, and that other communication component of knowing how you need to say it based on which room you're in. Because if I go into a room with a bunch of girls who are 20 something years old, I know they want to do this, they want to whatever.
Exactly.
So I got to trick them into learning a little bit, because they're excited because this is pink and purple and all those colors. You know what I mean?
Like, turn it on.
So I'm like, well, but let me tell you what the difference between this external toy and this internal toy that's for your G spot. And so I got to trick you into. So how many of y'all know what and we're gonna make it a fun thing. But when I walk into, I've had conversations with. I've actually done parties. I'll tell you this. I have set up tables at church events.
Oh, I know.
So people think that that's like a whole other side. And so people ask me, how do you enter that space doing this? And I say, well, let's look at the reality. In this country, 50% of most marriages are ending in divorce. And of that 50%, a lot of them are due to infidelity and losing connection and spice and touch, and outgrowing, like 20 years later, not feeling the same sparks. So when I approach someone in a religious element or a congregational leader, I'm saying, hey, I want to do an intimacy sort of group or coaching group or a session with the couples or with those who may be abstaining from sex, or those to help them feel like, okay, you don't have to feel pressured into sex either. You can still learn things about yourself and your body without sexual intercourse. So when you frame it from those conversations to help people understand, my goal is not to get everybody on a handstand with it bust open in the air. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Why not? Everybody against the wall.
Baby, I'm all for, if anybody know me, they know that. So
everybody against the wall.
The whole Bedroom Kandi community, we joke about it all the time. I said, y'all know I ain't nothing but I'm never too far from a thong and an ass shake.
Girl, not that far. You and me both. Which is what I am. So one of the things that I am excited that because my good friend of mine is like, you should go talk to the church for her. I'm like, no, they're not going to want to talk to me because I'm not going to frame it right. First of all, no. So I 90% of my trainings are my seminars and presentations and sales. I work in a lifestyle community, ethical non-monogamous community. So I've had people come to my seminar. I asked for a female volunteer to show like the Liberator pillow. She lays down and then she opens her leg and I'm like, there's no panties.
0 to 100, right?
Girl, and she's looking at me like,
that's just something wrong.
Y'all should see this pussy. It's very pretty. Thank you, sweetheart. Give her a hand.
Yes. So you're used to the groups that's already covered, ready for that. Yeah.
They're ready. But I'm ready because I'm ready for them. And I left my corporate training world because it was hard enough not to just fucking swear in the middle of the corporate training class.
That's the one thing I will say about becoming a part of a corporate team at a sex toy company. I was like to somebody, it was like, I said, I had this epiphany. I said, girl, I think I made it. And they said, well, I said, I got a lot to accomplish left in this life. I said, but you know what I did this morning as a part of my work? I sent feedback about my last orgasm to my supervisor.
Yeah.
And that was work. It was work to be like, hey, use that toy last night. Got me off in 3 seconds. There's no other place where I can go to a corporate
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you 110%. As I get to try oh, that's new and that's lovely and that's
Yes.
new and get a new fella and a new
Oh,
husband and a
baby.
new and all my
I take
boyfriends.
product
I'm like, huh,
testing.
I got something for it. Like all my men, because I'm also ethically non-monogamous. Like at one point,
Yes.
my husband and 3 boyfriends, they all had the same cock rings and they all were really big. God, that was a good time.
It was a good time.
Anyway.
I
Yeah.
know what that feels like. So you and me are kindred spirits on that one, Taylor, because
Girl.
the people go, I'm sometimes more excited to test the men's products, right? Like, don't get me, I take product testing at all ends very seriously. I say that, right? But we just actually released a new sleeve, right? And it's different than our other one. And so it's so funny because the first thing I wanted to do was figure out how many ways can I suck his dick with this sleeve.
Girl, yes.
I was like, because it's closed. It was like, it's closed and you can't put your mouth through this one like the other one. I was like, we about to figure some out. When I tell you, yeah, that between that hand, I was like, I'm over here, mouth is on testicles and under in the
Yes.
good. So I was
Yes.
trying to figure it out. And then I actually, it was so funny because I slid the sleeve down on him and I put my mouth over the whole sleeve. And he felt the combination of the pressure from my mouth and the suction from my mouth and the sensation of the sleeve.
Yes.
His eyes, it was like an exorcism. He just, it was like, bitch, you crazy, you know. And I get the thrill.
Who's your mommy? Who's your mommy? Right?
That's my BDSM side. They didn't tap my enchantress on that side of life. I got a whole nother name, y'all. And when I get I'm such a little bit of a, I can't, the sadistic side of me enjoys those reactions.
Say it.
I was like, oh, we just unlocked another level here,
Yes.
So I love testing the products. People don't talk about that perk and that one right there.
I don't know why they don't talk about that perk anytime, but I mean, not trying to think. There's only a few sex educators that actually talk about the not too many, because not all sex educators sell toys.
Yes, correct.
I'm I'm one of maybe a couple. I always say I'm a bit of a hybrid because I own a sex toy company and I'm an educator. And a lot of sex educators don't, they may be a brand ambassador for one brand. They don't have, the plethora of toys that you and I have to go through, and this one and that one and this one and
yes,
that one and that
literally
one.
eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And it's so funny because my friend goes, oh, every time I'm talking to you, you just pull something out of nowhere. And it's like, well, there's always one in reach. Like, I don't know. It's not, and it's like, I can't help that or whatever the case is. Like, I'm like all of my little bins, and we're not going to get into my storage unit because that's all the story.
No, we're not going to get into that.
But I think even those who don't sell them, that know-how is so important because on average, when a person goes into like a sex shop or if they're shopping online, right, they don't get the guidance. And I think it's one of the biggest forms of buyer's remorse when you got something because maybe there was some hype around it or whatever, but it's not for you.
only recently, the last 5 or 6 years, have I noticed some of the brick and mortar sex toy stores are starting to offer like weekend education classes for their customers. It's like, because people come to me and they go, what's the best lube? And my response is, what kind of sex do you have?
What are we using it?
Because I can tell you what's the best seller, but it doesn't mean it's going to be the best lube for you. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing with the toys, right? Do you like internal or external stimulation? Do you like G-spot stimulation? Do you like anal? I can always give you what's the number one seller. Doesn't mean you're going to like it.
Work for you. And then also they don't think about those things, that the materials, the intensity levels.
Oh my God.
Who love to play with temperature. So metal, understanding metal versus glass or high or body safe silicone. And then the care of these very expensive purchases is another thing. How to care for those things properly is a whole nother layer. But it's so funny you say that, because with people who also, I would say to people, you should also not have just one toy. And
one? That's like having one. That's like having one man. Who wants one? There's so many out here.
Yes, and for me, it depends on what's going on, how I feel. Like, I have the go-to kit for, I got 60 seconds. These kids are stressing me the hell out. I'm gonna
Girl.
I'm gonna come back out a different mother. That's one kid, okay? That it's a whole, I know that as soon as I turn it on, we don't need too much build up. Now it's gonna just, and I'm gonna come out and say, what y'all want to eat, right?
Girl,
So
done and done.
now we got the ones that I enjoy most with partner play. We got the ones that I enjoy most when I want to actually edge myself or build my stimulation up or test my boundaries or, you know, so it's just so much shit that you can do with these things. And people like put themselves in this one box.
Yeah.
And I would say to anyone who has that hesitation that actually understanding your body's yes and no responses to anything, right? What things my body is screaming yes to, oh no, that's too intense, this and that. When you become so in tune with those responses, you start to see how it shows up in life outside of sex. When you know, I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, how did you get so good at telling people no? Well, I know how I feel when my body's saying no, and I know how I feel when my body's saying yes. So when someone asks me something or they want me just, and it feels like a no, it's a no. And I don't have any negative associations with protecting my space because I know what my body is screaming at me at that moment. So people don't correlate.
Yeah, they're not in tune with their bodies, their feelings. They're all out here. It's a lot of out here instead of in here.
Yes, absolutely. You're listening to your gut. My gut tells me when I'm going to come the same way it's going to tell me that, you know, I ate something that I didn't like, right? So I just learned to, you know, with that. But like you said, there are a lot of educators who don't tap into toys that much. And even if you don't want to sell them, it might be a good idea to partner with some of those brick and mortar stores or whatever the case. So you could be the educator who comes and does those seminars or whatever. But people need guidance because I always tell people, honey, get this information because there's a no refund policy on something that your vagina or your penis doesn't wrap itself around. Like you can't put it in your asshole and come back and say to me later, I don't think this is the one for me. I'm gonna say, well, honey, it's yours.
It's you. Yeah. Wait, listen. We don't have time to talk about the return policy on sex. So like, what am I going to do with it?
What am I supposed to do with it? You can't even re-gift it, right?
Listen, girl. Kasha, it has been such a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. So I really, really love talking with you. And you have such a vibrant energy.
Thank you.
I listen, and you in that right there, I'll be over here like a succubus, just
I was called a succubus once. We're not going to talk about that right now.
I still get called it too. Oh, we got to have an offline talk, girl.
We got to have an offline. Listen, to my listeners, to stay in touch with Kasha, you can go to her website at KashaJohnson.com. Of course, you can find her on Facebook at Kasha V Johnson, Instagram at _natural38, and of course, her YouTube at Kasha Johnson. All of these links will be in the show notes. And of course, stay up to date with Sisters of Sexuality. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at sistersofsexuality@gmail.com. And you can find us on all social media at Sisters of Sexuality. Be sure to visit our sponsors, Liberator.com, UnionCondoms.com, and of course, you get 20% off your first order with the code Organic Love and our sister site, Organic Loven. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And if this episode resonated with you, would you please consider subscribing as a way of supporting the growth of this channel and allow us to keep informing, educating, and entertaining you. And until next week, stay sexy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Organic Loven, for the bodies you love to love. How do people describe you? Are you curious, playful, maybe sensual, adventurous? How about open-minded? The truth is, no matter who you are, Organic Loven has something to indulge your fantasies. We offer only organic, natural, and eco-friendly intimate body products, including vegan condoms, organic lubricants, body-safe sex toys, and sex-positive books. You won't find anything harmful in our products or toys. We also have a full range of other experiences, including erotic seminars and exotic adult-only vacations. Receive our adult subscription box for a monthly sexual delight. Be educated, entertained, and informed. Organic Loven. For her, for him, for you. For the bodies you love to love. Visit organicloven.com. We offer shipping worldwide, so stop by the site anytime. Organic Loven. That's LOVEN.com.